Hello, everybody. We are live. I'm here with Matt. Give me one moment because I'm just going to click over here on our Instagram Go Live. That takes an extra second to click on, and it is good to go now. So, with that said, I'm really excited that everybody's here. Thank you for taking time to join us, whether you are here live with Matt and I or whether you are watching recorded. We appreciate you taking the time. We are confident that some part of this conversation is going to resonate with you in a way that will hopefully help you to make some effective changes that are going to get you going towards the goals that you have and the areas of your life where you would like to be leveling up or improving. I met Matt through the mastermind that I'm in because Matt came and spoke to that. And we get a lot of really excellent guests that come and talk. And the stuff that resonated with me about Matt was his desire. And when I tell you a little bit about his past, you'll kind of get where this got fed from. His desire to help people not just recognize their value and their talents and their skills and core values, which we're going to talk about, really critical piece there, but then get into making those things happen and taking those steps. His life is a reflection and a model of that. He knew that in order to hit the goals that he wanted across all areas of his life, he had to put in the hard work. And it's about grit, and it's about doing those things that you don't always feel like doing because you know about the end result. And so I'm really excited because I know that many of you from past chats, things that have resonated with you have been the conversations regarding the actionable steps and the really moving the needle forward. And I think that Matt is an epic example of that. And he's got some stuff coming up that I'm going to have him talk about where you could engage more with him and reap the benefits of that. So before I let Matt introduce himself, I have a lengthy bio, but I'm not going to read the whole thing because I want to let Matt kind of focus. But just so you get the idea of what I'm talking about when I'm saying that he's got this wealth of knowledge: father, husband, multi-business owner and founder, a leader, a speaker, formerly SWAT operator, U.S. Marshals fugitive team member, and undercover narcotics detective. He also refers to himself as a serial entrepreneur, which I think is very fitting when you see all that he does. And again, the core through all of those things is Matt wants to bring the best of himself to it and knows that it's going to be doing the hard things and really making the effort. So that said, Matt, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell everybody about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, thank you, Deb, for having me on. And I had such a good time with the mastermind with you and the others. And I love spending time talking about the things that really matter, things that really move the needle and help others improve and selfishly myself improve in the process. Something that you believe in, others in your circle and network believe in, is that there is no knight in shining armor that's going to come galloping in on a beautiful steed and just come and rescue us, and whatever troubles we're having, they're going to take care of them. You're someone who believes, as I do as well, that we have the opportunity to become whoever we want in this life, and in so many cases, especially in the United States and other societies where people are free to do what they want within the confines of the law, because I do have a law enforcement background. But we can become whoever we want. And too often people get in their own way. And so, as you mentioned, I'm first and foremost, I'm a husband of almost 18 years, be 18 years this June, a father of a beautiful, amazing, incredible 14-year-old, soon to be 15-year-old son, and became an entrepreneur in 2013. It just sort of accidentally, but the right pieces fell into place, and so I made the leap and have been doing entrepreneurism for the last over a decade. I'm somebody who, is self-aware enough to know that when I look out into the world, realizing that nobody's going to save me and my family, and whatever we want to create in this short life is up to me and my family. The pathway to becoming free and secure and unrestricted and safe in many ways is by having financial freedom, and by way of having a life of design. And so we are serial entrepreneurs. We have 6 different companies. They range from software to construction to high-level business coaching, primarily in the medical space for naturopathic and functional medicine providers. We have equity funds that we're part of. and masterminds, a whole host of things. But we're very diversified because that's a way to safeguard our family's finances, so that way during these crazy times where there's so many things outside of our control, if one were to take a hit for one reason, we're not, all of our eggs are not in one basket. And I think a lot of people learned a very hard lesson during COVID when, things were happening well outside their control, and all of a sudden they found themselves without work or only being able to go part-time. And then, having these bills stack up, and many people know how, because of experience and too much experience, how to argue about money, but they don't know how to talk about it. So I'm somebody who really
Mm.
supports this element of financial freedom, time freedom, living a life of design. My law enforcement days certainly taught me that life is very precious. It could be snatched away from us at any moment, and so we've got to suck this thing dry for everything we've got with every minute we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many great things that I could take from what you just said. And I'm going to kind of pick, and then I'll come back to a couple other things that I'm like, oh, I want to talk about them all at once. But you mentioned diversity, right? And that's one of the things that I had thought about leading up to this conversation today, because you do have a diverse skill set, diverse background. The companies are very diverse. But interestingly, when you look at them, because I'll get questions myself from people about, well, why do you do this and this? These seem very different. But when you look at all of those things, there are similarities. And I think that comes back to a lot of it having to do with the core values. There are core values that are going to carry over every single one of those businesses, everything you've done in the past and everything you're doing now. And when you operate from a place of those core values, you do open doors to be able to do all those other things, because it's not so much about what you're doing, it's about how you're doing it
Hmm.
and the approach that you're going to take to that. And I'm wondering if you could kind of speak a little about, it could be in the core value or in some other way, some of the characteristics or behaviors that you have found have been used across being a parent, being a business owner, when you were a SWAT operative, right? All of those different things. I'm guessing there are some Matt things that were in those very much the same.
Yeah, totally. I mean, absolutely. And people are going to do things a little bit differently. They're going to define success and wealth differently, and so while some differences certainly exist from one person to the next, there are some universal truths. And for me, as a child, I grew up in a home where there was just a revolving door of men. There was people coming and going.
Mm.
I experienced several starts and stops and resets, and moved quite a bit as a kid, and I determined early on that I was going to break that cycle. And whatever my family looked like later on in life, I was going to do the work that it would take to make it so that my son and my future wife would never have to experience what I experienced. And one of the universal truths is that we get to choose our hard, and we can choose to do the hard thing now, and get up when that alarm goes off and not hit the snooze button, and do the thing we committed to do. We can you know give ourselves some sort of nutritional plan that we don't want to follow when we're starving and at the restaurant, or doing the shopping, or the cupboard's right there and the snacks are so easy to grab for. We can do the hard thing by keeping the commitments that we make and not breaking them. And if we are willing to do the hard thing first, the easy follows, right? So if we're willing to do that workout, if we're willing to stick to that nutrition plan, if we're willing to set big audacious goals and do the work that it takes to achieve them, if we're willing to make commitments and promises to ourselves and others that we keep, the easy follows. We live a very happy life of abundance now. And there's a saying that it takes 20 years to become an overnight success. And I haven't been an entrepreneur for 20 years quite yet. I don't consider myself to be an overnight success, but I do consider us to be quite successful. And that is has come by ways of systematically, day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year, um, doing the things that we committed to do. And even though we didn't want to do it, and there's been plenty of times where we didn't want to work on that project. We didn't want to do the thing. This morning, my wife and I were up 4:30 in the morning. Her and I and our son, we trained jujitsu together. Her and I are rolling around, getting our body bending in ways it's not designed to bend. at 6 in the morning when class starts, but we're up at 4:30 every morning, and it's either the gym or jujitsu. And there's many mornings where I do not want to get up. She does not want to get up, but we've made commitments to ourselves. And breaking commitments is a way to really degrade the amount of confidence we have in ourselves, the way in which we take ourselves seriously, the integrity that we have with ourselves, and the way that we have it with others. And so that's just been a universal truth that's really led to much of our success is choosing hard first, and knowing that the easy will follow. Too many people, they're not experiencing what they want in life, and there's a lot of elements of their life right now where they're like, man, I wish things were different. I wish things were this way instead of this way. Well, I'm here to tell you, and so many other people who are living a life of design and abundance, that you don't have to wish. It's not going to be a matter oftentimes of education and like knowledge. It's gonna be a matter of action, and taking action and doing the hard thing. If you choose to do the easy thing first, the hard will follow. And so that's one of those universal truths. The other one for my wife and I, we meet and talk frequently about our goals, personal goals, professional goals, goals for ourselves, goals for we have for our family, the goals we have for our son. Our son's getting ready to go on a 2-week trip to Europe with some of his classmates. He's in a private school that focuses on entrepreneurism, and we talk often about what our big audacious goals are. And every time we talk about those goals, if they don't slightly freak us out, if they don't slightly make us nervous, they're not big enough goals. And so we recognize that a great way to live a mediocre life is to set low standards and have easy to hit goals. And we refuse to do that. We refuse to have a mediocre life. So, you brought up the event. We do have a big event in July. We have 750 people for the mastermind, over 1,000 people at a charity plunge. We've committed to $100,000 donation to St. Luke's Children's Cancer Institute. And, to put together an event of that size, to, do the things that are required in order to honor a 6-figure donation to such a worthy cause, that takes a lot. So my wife and I, another success hack, you might say, is, first of all, we've given each other permission, and did so quite a while ago, to make ourselves a priority. Whatever we need to do in order to make ourselves whole and our cup is filled, we know that the better we are doing personally, the better that we can do and give to each other and to our son, to our teams, to our clients, to the world. And so we gave each other that permission. There's 3 relationships in every relationship: the one that we have with ourselves, the one we have with each other, and then and for each person, it's the selves one, right? So the one I have with myself, the one my wife has with herself, and then we have together. That has to be whole. And so we focus on that. And then together, collectively, when we set these family goals, we really look at what do we want to achieve and what's important to her. There's a lot of couples that struggle because one side feels like all they do is support the other side. All they do is show up for the other side. All they do is give to the other side. And all the while, it really just comes down to what hasn't been communicated is what's important to each person, and how do we leverage each other's strengths, talents, gifts to support each other, and when are we going to do what. So those are like a short list of things that have really helped us achieve quite a lot of success.
Yeah, and I hear integrity of self, right? It's that remaining true to yourself in all of those things, both from being a child and saying this is not the life that I want to eventually have. I grew up in a house with alcoholism and abuse, and similarly committed very young to know that I'm breaking this cycle, right? People talk about the cycle that you just mentioned. And when you are in those situations, ultimately, even though you have some idea of what you don't want and do want, you still don't know because you don't have that map for it. You're going to have to create that map. And the only way that we can create that map is acknowledge what we don't know in order to say, I don't know this, so therefore I'm going to go find out the information. And that carries over in your family life as an entrepreneur, any personal goals that you're setting in terms of fitness. There are things that we don't yet know. We can make projections. We can set those big, gigantic goals. And then there's all those variables that trickle down that we can't predict or prepare for because that's how life is. Things come up. So you have
Yeah.
to kind of approach life with that curiosity of, well, I know I want this and I'm going to set this goal, but I'm going to continue to know that I don't know everything that I need to know. And I'm going to be constantly learning. And that helps teams to succeed because they start to recognize that the person that's sitting next to them, regardless of their title, regardless
Hmm.
of what they have or haven't accomplished, has
Hmm.
an incredible amount of knowledge, a lot of which could be very beneficial to you because you don't know it yet. So that
Yeah.
connection, and that's what you're doing with your wife and your son as well, right? You don't know them the way they know themselves, so you have to engage in that conversation. And when you really care about making sure that you're understanding things from that integrity perspective, that truth perspective, you do ask the right questions and you do listen to the answers fully because you know that it's going to ultimately help everybody in the end. And I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And I think the big event you have coming up, it's really about helping people do that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what you're asking people to do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, look, I mean, one of the things that fires me up the most is seeing people succeed and thrive. And, again, whatever their version of success and wealth looks like that they find it, right? And they live it and they get to live it as long as possible. I love that. And I love being in a place in life where I can help others do that. Um, you know, what you're really describing is something I call having a CEO mindset with a white belt mentality. It's both being that having that hunger and that humility. And look, there are far more places in far more ways that you and I are ignorant than things we know about, right? And even though I've come a long way as an entrepreneur over the last decade, I'm nowhere near where I'll be if I'm willing to do the work in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, and so on, right? There's never a place where we achieve and like we reached it all and we know it all. And I think one of the most foolish things that somebody could do is let their ego and pride get in the way, and not realize how much that absolutely neuters their potential. I think it's also a tragedy when people choose to suffer in silence and they have these problems and they have these challenges and they don't know the answers to, and yet they don't reach out and they don't have a network and a community. They don't have a mentor or a coach to really bounce these ideas off of and say, hey, what do you think about this? I was just in Pittsburgh the other day, and I was having a team meeting with a client, and I wanted another one of the coaches I've got, on our coaching side. I've got other coaches on the team, and I reached out to one, and he's a very successful entrepreneur himself, and he's been in business a long time. And said, what do you think? Now I'm the boss, right? I own the company, and I'm calling a guy on my team and say, what do you think? Like, here's what I'm stepping into. What are your thoughts? And not only does that build relationships, but it also builds integrity amongst that relationship, because it tells the team that I'm not trying to use my title as a way of saying I know it all. And I am unafraid, and I learned to be unafraid, because there was a point where I really did suffer in silence, and I did so for way too long, because some of the worst advice I was ever given. And if you or if any one of your listeners has ever been given this advice, throw it out the window. And it was to fake it until you make it, right?
Mm,
And I was living this life of true um, unauthenticity, and having all these challenges and these troubles and things I didn't know the answers to, but I wouldn't communicate it out because I was afraid about how people would judge me. I was trying to fake it until I make it, and I was not making it. In fact, I was swirling the toilet bowl in the personally, financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, and having that humility to have a conversation, having the network to have the conversation with. Um, and being somebody that others want to have that conversation with, right? That's one thing that everybody would love to have more high performers in their circle, and people that are just out there achieving it, and those that represent success and freedom and wealth, and they want more of those people in their life because of the energy and because of success leaving clues. The problem is that too many people, they're not conducting themselves in a way to where they're even worthy to be in those rooms, to have a seat at that table, to have these people in their network. And because the success attracts success, and it repels excuse makers. It repels drama and toxicity. It repels a lot of things. And so um you know if more people had more access to others who were once where that person currently is, but is now where they want to be in the future, man, it's like it's just, I call it force multiplication. It's just like adding rocket fuel to your opportunity and to your potential. But you have to earn your seat at that table. You have to be humble. You have to be hungry, and you have to be willing to recognize that you don't know it all. You are more ignorant than you are smart at things, many things, most things, and no matter how smart you are, no matter how successful you are, we have blind spots and we have things we don't see, and other people can see them. They can shine a spotlight on it. There are people out there right now, whatever our biggest challenges are, whatever your listeners' biggest challenges are right now, at this very moment, there are people who have the exact solution they need to move past
Mm-hmm.
that challenge and turn that challenge into an opportunity and overcome it, right this instant. It's just, do you have access to them? Have you earned your seat at the table? Have you demonstrated that you're worthy of their time and energy? Are you willing to pay to play? I just joined something called EO, and it's a high level entrepreneurial organization, and you have to be doing at least $1 million in annual revenue. You have to prove it. You have to show the statements and show that your company is doing north of 7 figures, and it cost me over $10,000, just under $11,000, just to join this group. Reason why I did it, because I know this is where the next level players are at. These are where the other people at my level are at, and these are people I can ask for guidance, support, mentorship, coaching. We all need coaches. We all need mentors. We also need to be willing to ask for help and receive that help, and then take action on that help.
Yeah, the community piece is huge. I mean, find the community, right? For everybody, they need to find the community that's a fit for them, and it's not going to be the same community that's a fit for everybody. But find a community. Find yourself a place where you can be surrounded by people who are going to hold you accountable, who are going to make you comfortable being vulnerable, who are going to also be vulnerable with you, that you can bounce ideas off of. That's a huge leap forward in anything. But
Yeah.
particularly when you're an entrepreneur and a lot of times you're kind of functioning in that silo, that network, that group of people becomes your team, right? And
Yeah.
they're there to support you through that.
And then
And I
family
also
too,
think
Deb. Sorry, but
agreed.
I growing up, I didn't have any real solid reference points on what a how a man should treat a wife,
Mm,
a father should treat their kids. Like, there was, because of this revolving door of men. My biological father was a wife beating alcoholic. My at the age of 3, he told my mom that if she would give up, or if she would agree to not charge him child support, he would give up all rights to my brother and I. And they took that deal, and both sides honored that deal. And I got a call a couple of years ago that he had died alone, on a couch watching TV, having some sort of heart related issue. And it, as a father myself, you know, hearing that news and feeling nothing for that man, knowing he was my biological father and feeling nothing for him, and then thinking about how would I feel if my son felt that way about me. Like,
mm,
it is truly mind-boggling. But it is certainly for entrepreneur, absolutely. And it's not just for entrepreneurs, it's for anybody who leads anybody, right?
right.
Because leadership it's an art and a science. But you're leading yourself, you're leading a team, you're leading a community, you're leading your family, you should be a leader in so many different things. And sometimes, we need other people to show us the way, because we've never been shown the way. And that was the way for me, for being a husband and being a father. And so, outside of entrepreneurism, it's been surrounding myself around others who, when times get tough, they don't throw in the white towel. They don't
Right.
wave the flag. They don't pull the ejection cable. They stick in the suck. They realize that life is all about ups and downs, and they power through it, understanding that they're probably just as wrong as their spouse in whatever it is they're arguing about. And they choose hard over easy, right? By the easy
Right.
thing, people like get divorced. Takes 10 minutes online, you know, $50. I don't know what it is. I don't even care to ever know what it is. I never plan on getting divorced. But um, that's the easy path, to just throw in the towel, thinking the grass is greener on the other side, when it's not. It is truly where you water
Right.
it. It's truly where you nurture it, where you weed it, all of those things. And so that mentorship and coaching, it goes into every aspect of our life. Being an entrepreneur is every bit as personal as it is professional.
Yeah, and you've got to be intentional with which people you call, because you are going to have people that are in your network who are going to say the things that they think you want to hear as opposed to things you think you need to hear, right? The people that
Yeah.
you mentioned that will say you got to stick it out. Like, I know this
Yeah.
is hard. So you have to, that's comes that truth integrity, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
make the call to the person that I know is going to bring me back from this place that I'm going down, and not the person that's going to be like, "Yeah, man, do whatever you want. It's all good."
Hmm. Yeah.
So I think that becomes an intentional thing that we have to do on a regular basis. And I
Yeah.
think even from all of those things in terms of setting an example, right? Like, you and I both want to be leaders just in general, in addition to the business leadership and speaking leadership, just leaders in general in the world, and affecting and creating
Yeah.
positive change and helping people to be their best. And so the more we share willingly about our vulnerability and the mistakes that we have, the more apt we are to have people who are maybe on that spot where they don't really feel worth it, or they don't feel like they can quite do it, and they say like, "Oh, okay, Matt's struggled too." Like, "All right,
Mhm.
all right, so maybe I'm not as far away as I am." So it not only helps us when we say I don't know, to help us to grow, but it helps others to see that, and that models it for them so that they can step in and they can say it, from a social media platform, from a stage, in the boardroom, at the dinner table with your family. When you don't know something, acknowledging that invites the conversation and allows other people to feel open to saying that.
Yeah.
And that's what leads towards the change that we need, modeling
Yeah.
and setting those examples.
Yeah. Yeah. Two of the most powerful words that anybody can say or hear is "I understand," right? When they truly understand.
Mm,
And I mean, you're so right about who you choose to call, because, going back to that choosing, hard over easy. If you choose to call somebody that is going to say, "Well, at least you tried," or "You've done more than most," or, they give you an out, like they give you an off ramp of not following through with whatever it is you committed to. That's choosing the easy path. And those people, I mean, they're going to have the best intentions. They're going to love you, right? They're going to say
right,
it out of
right,
pure love,
right.
but they don't realize that in fact, they're hurting you, because what you really need to hear. Um, and a good friend of mine and I, we've had several really heated conversations, and one happened not too long ago. But it's because emotion can be something that can really start to cloud judgment. And one of the things I'm really big on is stoicism and emotional coefficient, right? And this heated conversation was not, it wasn't ugly, it was just colorful, right? Because sometimes when you're giving feedback to somebody, where you say, "Look, this is what I see, and I know you're not going to want to hear this, but this is the path that I see you going down, and um, and it's concerning," right? Uh, that that sometimes, even for people who appreciate feedback in general, can be really tough to hear. And as part of being a friend, and somebody who really cares about somebody, you also have to be willing to initiate the conversation and say, "Look, this is what I see happening, um, and it's not correct," right? And I'll tell you that while this conversation started heated, it ended with extreme gratitude, and
Mhm.
um, and and this person being very thankful that I was willing to share with them. They were just in a unit of time where other life stressors were really getting in the way, and they didn't even really see it for what it was in the moment. And so you also have to be willing to link arms with somebody, and
Yeah.
not rip out the moment that they don't take the feedback well, and understand if they're going through a tough time. So whether you're somebody who needs that feedback, or you know somebody who could use that feedback, you have to be willing to give it and receive it.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the risk of sometimes, like you said, not getting well received. And
Mhm.
that, I talk a lot about kindness. Like, that's one of the things that's important to me. And I think there's sometimes can be a misunderstanding. People will think about kindness as, like we said, telling somebody what they want to hear, making somebody feel better. But that's not what kindness is about. Kindness is about respect. It's about listening as much as we're speaking. And it's about wanting the best for somebody. And sometimes what's best for somebody is to tell them the hard things that they may not want to hear, and may create some initial, if not permanent, conflict in your relationship, depending on the situation. But we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to other people to to see things that we see, and to do it in a way that's kindness, right? I'm sure you didn't yell in your friend's face. you
No,
were
no.
you were kindly and respectfully pointing out
Mhm.
these things, and that's love. That's love
Yeah.
when we take the time to tell somebody, here's something that you could do. So I
Yeah.
admire that a lot. I think it's amazing that you've had this really very diverse experience, and it all has really come to this place now where you're very clear on your mission. I think about, I certainly could not imagine doing things like being a SWAT operator, right? The level of stress and the things like that. Yet at the same time, I can tell you that as a parent, there are days where I'm sure I don't feel like a SWAT operative, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. There
Mhm.
is no manual. I thought this was working yesterday. It's not working now. And you've got to pivot and you've got to stay calm and collected and you've got to move forward, whether
Mhm.
you perceive it as a win or a loss in terms of whether you did it the best that you could. So,
Mhm.
again, surrounding us with people and really giving and receiving that feedback. Golden. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how do people get in touch with you, Matt? How do people find you? How do they connect with you? Find out about this event that's coming up because I know a little bit of information about it and it looks really awesome.
Yeah, it is cool, and we would love everybody's support, one way or the other, with it because it's such a worthy cause. People can follow me on Instagram. It's Matt Schneider _official. Love to connect with people there. I'm on LinkedIn for your more professionals that are on that channel. As far as the event goes, that's ignitionmastermind.com. It's July 19th and 20th in Boise, Idaho. The focus is this charity. St. Luke's Children's Hospital is the only one within hundreds and hundreds of miles around it. There's only 5 children's hospitals in this country, and kids have to travel in their families, large distances a lot of times. And we're very fortunate to have one locally. They do incredible work. There's nearly 300 kids that they see every single year that are unfortunately diagnosed with cancer. And that is as you can imagine, a life-altering event for everybody involved. And the work, the research, the care, the equipment, everything is so heavily relied upon to fund through donations. So, on ignitionmastermind.com, people can just do a donation if they want to do that. You can buy a virtual ticket if you can't come to the event. And then we have tickets to one or both days of the event itself. So we would love people's support there. We'd love people to share it. We'd love people to bring awareness to it.
Yeah.
It is certainly a worthy cause.
Yeah, you can see from the interaction of people online about it that there's an energy that's generating about it. It's
Yeah.
becoming not just an event, but it's a movement, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that's happening along with that. So I think
Well,
that's really very
yeah, Jen
powerful.
Gottlieb is one of our amazing speakers, and so I think your audience is somewhat familiar with that powerhouse. And we have some really incredible speakers. Jen being one. We have Tim Kennedy, Tim Grover. He's the mindset guy to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. I mean, you talk about heavy hitters, personal coach, mindset coach to them. We have Ryan Garland, Ray Cash Cares, Navy SEAL. I mean, an impressive
Yeah.
list. Cody Alford, Marine, recon guy, shot in the helmet in battle. Has the helmet to this day. Talks about it. It's an incredible lineup. So we brought together a heavy hitting group to really provide tremendous value and make this thing just an epic event. We're also breaking the world record for the world's largest plunge event on dry land. So we have a goal of, I think, on dry land, it's about 300 people. We have a goal of over 1,000 people. So we're looking to not just break it, but to crush it. So yeah, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, the diversity of your speakers is really fantastic. I mean, nobody should be able to say there's not somebody that I'm interested in because you've got a wide variety of speakers. And yeah, the plunge thing I just think is an excellent additional piece to the whole
Yeah.
thing. It's the cherry on top, but
Yeah.
really the goal of it, the mission, and all of your messaging behind it. So I do hope that people check that out. And again, if anybody is watching live or after the fact and would like me to help direct them to that information, I certainly can do that. And also tee you up to an introduction to Matt so that you can have a conversation with them. And then the last thing is your final thought, something you'd like to leave the audience with. And I have had people go all over the place with this. It's funny comments, serious comments. So there's no specific requirement other than Matt's final thoughts for the audience.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, mentioned I was a SWAT guy in law enforcement. This past Friday, or Saturday rather, we had a fellow deputy that, from my previous department walking up on a traffic stop, get shot and killed. And And then yesterday, we're having a fence put in at the house, and the guy, he's been a little bit MIA for the last couple of days. Turns out somebody ran a stop sign, broadsided, hit one of his best friend's trucks, killed the wife. Life is short, and we all have this understanding that tomorrow is not promised today, and that none of us escape this journey alive. But as far as like some parting words, it is don't take life for granted, don't take family for granted. Live with urgency and know that you always have the power and control to change circumstances. Live a life of design. If you don't like how things currently are, change them, and know that whatever it is that you accept in life, you're going to continue to get, and whatever you don't want to get any more of, just stop accepting it. And the better you are at doing that, and the more the more dedicated you are to surrounding yourself with others who operate the same way, the more colorful and experiential life will be. And it is going to come to an end. So you might as well live the most amazing life possible, and don't waste a minute in an environment that is not suiting you, in relationships that are not suiting you. Choose hard over easy. Put in the work. Nobody's going to do the work for you. Others around you will have to do the work for themselves. But if more people were willing to approach things that way while living a life of urgency, much more good could be accomplished, and much more experiences could be had, and much more fulfillment along the way. So that's my plea with everyone.
Wow. Powerful. And I'm sure that there are people that are going to hear that, whether they heard it now or after the fact, that are going to, it's going to be changing for them, because I think we need that reminder on a regular basis. I thank you, Matt, really
Welcome.
very much for taking the time to do this. It was a great conversation. I mean, I could have gone on for hours. I looked up at the thing and I'm like, all right, I got to be a little bit mindful of time, but you've got such a wealth of knowledge and your passion's phenomenal. So I hope to connect people to you. And again, anybody that reaches out, I will certainly send them your way. My best wishes to your wife and son, to your program, to all of your many businesses, and to this event. I'm excited to see how all of this is going to unfold.
Thanks, Deb. Appreciate being here.
Thanks. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.